Hey everyone, Dr. Bachman here. I decided to have a little impromptu chat, and I know I look like a Batman villain here. This is we'll take this off. I'm done with patients for the day. That's my N100 mask, and I wore that, yes, I wore it all day yesterday seeing patients. It's a little hard to breathe in, but it's worth the extra safety. And actually yesterday was my last full day in clinic. I've shut down my clinic indefinitely, and it was a tough call to make, but I feel like I made the right one. I'm very happy that I made that call, even though here in Austin, Texas, we haven't been shut down yet, but they very quickly, even like the day after we talked about it and decided to do that, Mayor Adler has said no groups of 10 people or more, and I mean, we get up to that much in our multidisciplinary clinic, so looks like it was pretty prescient. I'd much rather be a couple days early than be a part of the problem by spreading virus to other people, and then it branches out and compounds the problem. Now, I did want to have a list of a few things. A couple of my thoughts about this whole process. We're just going to make it a casual conversation here. Things I've been thinking about, and there's actually some bright sides to this whole coronavirus thing. Now, and not to diminish the severity, and this is a horrific thing, but I just wanted to share with you some of my observations about this whole process, and I also want to make two predictions that are, if they come true, they're going to be pretty good things that will help all of us. And I know all of you are, like me, you're all concerned and worried about what the future holds, both for our health, the health of our family and our loved ones, and what about rent? What about student loan payments? What about car payments? Is my home going to get repossessed? All these things, we're going to talk about these. And I think that all of these issues aren't going to be quite as bad. This is my personal opinion. I don't think they're going to be quite as bad as they may appear to be. So, yes, I shut down my clinic yesterday, worked a full morning, and I'm now seeing, well, let me tell you the good things that I've noticed already from this virus. And I'm not saying it's worth it to have a virus to get these good things, but these are just things I've noticed. So first of all, I'm taking better care of myself. And I mean, I've always been pretty healthy, but let me tell you, there's nothing like the thought of having your immune system lowered and being more susceptible to a problem to make you get more sleep and get more water and eat better food. I'm juicing now. Get outside and get sunshine, fresh air. I'm doing for long hikes every day. Honestly, over the last 2 weeks, I've never felt better. This is like the best I've felt. And I mean, I'm 51 years old, so I'm in a little bit higher risk age group. I don't have other complications, but still, I want to lower my risk. I want to stack the deck in my favor. And guess what? All these things that we're talking about, good eating habits and active lifestyle, they're all good for us for all kinds of other reasons. Also, some professional advantages that I've seen. So, a couple years ago, I designed a set of online self-treatment courses. They're video courses that walk you through self-diagnosis and treatment for several different things: back pain, neck pain, knee pain, shoulder pain. Now, the courses came out with all of the information I wanted in them, but I wanted them a little more polished. I wanted them a little higher production value. So I haven't launched those, and they've just been kind of sitting in a dusty corner, essentially. They're all online. I just haven't launched them yet. And guess what? This is a perfect time for me to launch them, even if they're not perfect. I know I tend to be a perfectionist, and so the problem with perfectionism is that if it's not perfect, you don't do it, and so things never get done. So this is spurring me to take some action, and action that can not only help me potentially at least find any issues we can tweak with these courses, but also for the people watching who may have back pain or neck pain or knee pain and can't get in to see someone like me or another rehab professional to get it fixed. So it could be a win-win for both of us. Also, telehealth. I'm sure you all have heard a lot about that. And you would think, as a chiropractor, what can I do virtually? I mean, I work with my hands, right? Yes, but guess what? Most of the stuff that my patients need, and yours too, if you're a health professional, rehab professional, most of the things your patients need, you can send to them. You can talk over with them by video call.
So I'm in the process of having my whole website rebuilt, and we're adding in telehealth capability and scheduling and all that stuff. I got my web guy Matt is just burning up the hours, and we're ending up with a better website and this capacity to reach out to patients who are inaccessible. Either maybe they're too old to drive, or maybe they're already sick, but they also have back pain. Remember, you can have more than one problem at the same time. So just because we've got this huge pandemic going on, it doesn't mean people aren't rolling their ankles. It doesn't mean people aren't falling down the stairs or waking up and not being able to straighten up because their back went out. So this is something that you and I, as rehab professionals, not only have the ability to do, but I would argue the duty. I mean, if this is a skill we have and it can help people in a very real way, we owe it to other people. Yes, we're not quantity of life. We're not ER docs, and we're not on the front lines. We're quality of life. But quality of life matters a ton. If a mom can't, if she threw her back out and she's not able to take care of her kids while she's got the kids home for months, hey, that impacts the life of her kids, and not to mention her happiness and her well-being, her ability to be active and healthier herself. So this virus has kind of brought the future to now. We always assumed telehealth would be something that happened in the future. Well, guess what? Circumstances are bringing it to the present. So that's a good thing. And plus, if I get this system in place, it expands my toolbox. It allows me to see patients both in person, face-to-face, as well as people who may be hundreds, thousands of miles away. I'm getting more outdoor time. So I love being outside, and guess what? I'm going to have a lot more free time, and you probably will as well. And I encourage you, take advantage of it. Not only is it not unsafe to be outside in general, it's actively good for you. And there's actually the closest analog to this pandemic that we have is way back in 1918, 1919. We had the Spanish flu, and that just was a hugely just a horrible virus that spread, and it acts a lot like this virus does now. Now, way back then, they didn't have the tech and the know-how that we have to treat these kinds of things, but what they did find is towards the end of that pandemic, they started moving all their treatment facilities outside, open-air treatment facilities, and they started noticing that their patients started improving faster, and their mortality rates went down just from moving things outside. So it's unclear if this is the case, whether it's from sunlight killing the virus, whether it's the heat, whether it's the fresh air. There is some indication that, like being on a cruise ship where you have the air circulated over and over, it's either passing the bugs from one person to another and back and forth, or it's unhealthy for lungs in some way. We're not sure. I'm not sure. Go ahead and fact check me on that. But open air stuff sounds great to me. I love being outdoors. I get more of that. I get more free time in general. So yes, if you've got kids, you may enjoy your free time away from your kids. Well, that's not going to happen maybe for a bit because they're going to be home with you. However, this gives us a chance to be more neighborly in general. I mean, when I was growing up, neighbors would talk over the back fence and they'd come over for coffee. We all knew each other's names. That's not so much the case these days. I liked the neighborly bit back in the day. And I think that having more free time is going to let us have better relationships with our loved ones and families and friends. Well, we'll say families, maybe less with friends, but it's going to pull us together. We're going to start caring. I predict we'll start caring more about the things that really do matter, which are relationships. It's not about things. It's not about trips. It's about our relationships with people. And this virus is kind of forcing us to reassess those things in what I think is a healthy way ultimately. Also, our country and the world is being forced to make better daily hygiene decisions and changes. So just think about it. Yes, we're all hand washing more, we're coughing in the crook of our arm, we're keeping distance from people, we're not sneezing on grandma, right? Because we're intensely aware of the very real risks to someone's life if we do these things wrong. I can speak for myself. I know I've kind of not been as concerned about general hygiene as I should have been over my life. This brings the importance of it to the forefront. So, and think about it, in this country alone, we have up to 50,000, 60,000 deaths from the regular flu each year. So if we exercise better hygiene practices, we can drop the death rate in a big, meaningful way there. So we can actually save lives in the future, well, and currently, from people who have the regular flu, by practicing these things that we're being forced to do for coronavirus. Let's see. Preventing other illnesses, Wu flu, or the Wuhan flu, coronavirus. Now here's an interesting one. So, when's the last time you heard global warming or climate change mentioned? It's been a bit, right? I don't think I've heard of it in a while. I don't heard it mentioned very much at all. Now, here's a really strange, unintended consequence of this coronavirus. I think, and let me know if I'm wrong, fact check me on this, but I think we're seeing the single biggest improvement in our climate and CO2 levels that we've ever seen. I mean, going from, I saw satellite images of China, and the smog is just melting away. CO2 levels are dropping because people aren't traveling. People aren't burning the fossil fuels because they're all stuck at home. Now, a certain amount of this may not continue afterwards. I expect that. However, this forced isolation and adaptation that we're all having to do, figure out how to work remotely, travel less, drive less, conserve, be more efficient. These changes, we will still know how to keep these efficiencies afterwards. And if that means we're telecommuting more or we're using more efficient ways to do things, that helps the environment. So virus, very bad for people, great for the environment. So again, one is not worth the other, but since we have to have the bad thing, hey, I'm kind of glad that the air's cleaning up and maybe the temperature's cooling off a bit, or at least it's not rising as quickly as it should. Also, good thing about coronavirus, has there ever, I'll ask you, has there ever been a time when the world's brightest minds, the sharpest scientists, the most creative thinkers, has there ever been a time when all those people, every one of them, were working together on the same problem? I say no. I can't think of a time. Can you think of a time? I think this is unprecedented. Now, the reason I bring this up is because we have lots of smart folks on this planet. And the effect of all of them working together on one massive problem should give us amazing results. Things that we can't even imagine. We're already hearing some of these ideas in the news. Whether it's technology, whether it's efficiencies or tricks or hacks for how to prevent illness or to feed people or to get people around. I'm expecting some amazing things to come out of the next couple of weeks, or weeks even, but months for sure. New developments that can help us not just weather this storm, which we will. We will get through this. As citizens of the planet, we are going to continue. We are going to beat this virus. I mean, the Spanish flu didn't kill us, and that was much worse, and we were much less prepared for that. So we're getting through the other side. But I think the things that we're going to develop now from all of us working together there are going to be some amazing things in there. Mark my word. Also, nothing brings us together like having a common enemy, right? So in the last 2-3 years, this country has had lots of divisiveness. There's been a lot of political discord. There's been a lot of people yelling angry words at each other and taking sides, right? I mean, it's kind of all over. Well, anytime y'all have one common enemy, we end up pulling together and circling the wagons and pointing our guns out because we know, hey, all of this other stuff is less important. Let's pull together. And I think this is like the perfect time for our country. Well, it's not just our country. I mean, I'm glad to see it here, but the rest of the world too. I'm glad to see how we do pull together. You're already hearing about it. Neighborhoods pulling together, cities coming up with creative solutions. The working together bit to get bit, just it makes your heart feel good. Makes you feel like there's hope for humanity. Now, I promised you. And by the way, yeah, this is a little trick I use. So instead of scratching an itch with my fingers, I use the back of my forearm, which isn't touching anything else that might get contaminated. So I can scratch my nose with my forearm. Little trick for you there. Number one, and you've probably heard about this today, there's talk about UBI, Universal Basic Income, and it's what Andrew Yang was talking about, and he was talking about $1,000 a month for everybody. I think we're going to get some variation on that, because the big concern, again, that you and I all have is how are we going to pay our bills? Yeah, we have to stop working, we have to withdraw. That means we can't do our jobs or can't do them as well. We have less money. Are we going to get evicted? Are we going to get car repossessed? There's no way that our government is going to allow half the country or more to be unemployed. There's no way. So they're going to have to come up with some crazy solutions. They're going to be insane sounding, but they're going to be kind of nick of time things, and they're definitely going to make our personal risks and our group risks much lower. Now, I'm kind of an economics guy. I love economics. We'll keep the economics side of part of this separate, because the consequences of changing our economy the way we would have to do UBI and so on, it's fascinating and a little scary, but remember, job one right now is staying alive. Staying alive. I mean, nothing else can be number one. That has to be number one. It cannot be number two. It can't be the economy. It can't be, oh, this political party needs to be in charge instead of that. Nope, it needs to be staying alive. So once we get the staying alive part right, then we can make better decisions about those number two and number three and other choices. So UBI is coming, which means the pressure is going to come off a lot of us for these bills that we can't avoid. The other thing is I'm going to predict is that lots of contracts and leases and mortgages, all those things are going to be renegotiated, are going to have to be. There's no getting around it. I think they're going to have to be renegotiated so that there's a way for all of us as a country to get past this financially and economically. The other thing, a lot of folks have worried about supply chains and running out of stuff in stores. And if you're like me, you've been in the store and you've seen the shelves just wiped out and nothing at all in the freezer section and all the cereal aisles and the cheese and the milk. It'll make you panic a little bit. I'll admit, it's a little panicky because you start thinking about, how am I going to eat? So here's my prediction. I think we are not going to run out of food, and even most other necessities. Here's why. Now, all these other countries, Italy, China, Spain, all of them, you hear about the horrors of the virus, but do you hear anyone talking about starving to death or not having food? I haven't heard anything like that. And that's kind of amazing, right? Because some of them have been in lockdown for over 2 months. Who has enough money? I mean, even if you could order out, who has enough money to last that long, and how's the supply chain keeping it intact? Well, the fact is supply chains, which is trucking and trains, right? Mostly, perhaps, some air, but a huge tractor trailer rig only takes one driver, and he's isolated the whole time he's driving across the country. So that's a pretty safe gig. And I would think that those people want to keep their job because they're one of the few jobs that can. Engineer on a train, and the people who load and unload the train, they can stay pretty safe distances from each other. So I think those are going to stay largely intact. Also, all the cattle, they haven't disappeared. They're still there. And all the fields and the corn and the wheat, those fields haven't disappeared, so we've got a ton of food here. We may have some shortages of things that come from other countries, but we got tons of fresh produce and meat. So I think don't worry about food. Don't worry too much about your finances. We're going to figure out a way through this. Now, another last thing I'll tell you about. I'm going to invite all of you, as like-minded professionals in the rehab world, to come join us on our Facebook group, and it's called the Rehab Professional Forum. If you search Rehab Professional Forum, it's a casual, easygoing forum for folks like all of us, whether we're students still in school or we're seasoned docs and all different professions, PT and MD and DC. Everyone's welcome, and we can bounce ideas off each other. We can share wisdom. We can ask questions. You'll see what's going on there. But I'll invite you to come join me there. And stay tuned for more chats, because I'm going to be sharing my process of converting to telehealth and doing online self-treatment courses and some other creative things that I already have in my mind about how to adapt and not only survive this time, but thrive. So anytime there's a crisis, there's also an opportunity. And I'm going to invite you to join me in the quest for the opportunity in this crazy period. So thank you for listening if you're still here. And until next time, stay tuned. Come join us on Facebook at the Rehab Professional Forum, and I will see y'all in there.